Wholeness. Wholeness and balanced vibrations. It's Mystic Mommy. And I'm sorry if I sound sick, but I have a cold, so it is what it is. I feel fine besides having a stuffy nose, but that's irrelevant. Okay. Today we're going to be doing a summary on the Kybalion introduction. Today is September 13th, 2022. And so yes, we're going to be summarizing the introduction of the Kybalion. I might stop and read a quote that I highlighted, maybe. So yeah, let's get started. The Hermetic teachings are obscure in nature because there are very little written works published on this specific subject matter, on this philosophy. Partially because, for one, it's occult knowledge, which occult means hidden or kept secret, which I know is contrary to popular belief, because usually when people hear the word occult, they think evil, demonic, that's what you're thinking. That's not at all what this book is, so I just want to reiterate that. I already kind of touched on it in my other video about the Kybalion introduction audio book read aloud. But yes, so partially because it is hidden information, it's knowledge that's kept secret, but it's also just obscure because it's just not really written about or talked about. But they don't really write a lot about it because usually this information is fed to a devout student, essentially, verbally. They usually share this information verbally so that it's not written down, no one can find out about it, and it's just an oral tradition. The purpose of this book is to provide the truth and to reconcile all disparities between every bit of occult knowledge that you may think that you've gathered from YouTube or wherever else, religion, culture, and every creed. Hermetic philosophy originated in ancient Egypt, or Kemet, which is what it was called. But it originated from Hermes Trismegistus. That's how they quote him in this book, and in other Hermetic works. Hermes Trismegistus, or thrice great. That's what Trismegistus means. So who is Hermes Trismegistus? That was his Greek name. That was his Greek mythological name. I know I just said that it originated from Egypt, but I'm going to get to that. So Hermes Trismegistus he was a real person, but he's a character. He's like just like a very renowned spiritual leader, like of his time. So Hermes was his Greek name, but his name is Thoth, or Tahuti, which is the Cometian name, or Egyptian, because Kemet and Egypt are the same place. So it says, I'm just reading from my notes and kind of adding things as I read it. So a derivative of ancient Cometian culture / spirituality's deity or archetype, Thoth or Tahuti. So basically what I'm saying is, by archetype, it's like a key personality type. It's like an energy or like an essence that is just very defined in a character. So essentially, people are coming back every lifetime as a different archetype. And this helps you understand your personality traits and why things happen to you the way that they do. So like Jesus, he was a real person, but he's also an archetype of Tahuti or Thoth. So anyways, excuse me, I think Jesus is actually an archetype of Horus, not Thoth. But he lived and spoke wisdom to the students in the ancient Kemetic mystery schools. He was considered as the master of masters and the scribe of the gods. So the Egyptian god or deity Thoth is also Hermes Trismegistus. He represented divine intelligence and was considered the inventor of all the Egyptian sciences and arts. His wife and divine feminine counterpart was Ma'at, the Egyptian goddess. And she is the goddess of the universal laws, divine righteousness, and balance. His wife and divine feminine counterpart was the Egyptian goddess Ma'at. And she was the goddess of the universal laws, divine righteousness, and balance. She had 40 plus ancient Commission laws, and these are known as the laws of Ma'at. And that is what essentially the Commissions, how they lived their lives in balance, in righteousness, being just, being honest. That whole thing, the laws of Ma'at, are what the 10 Commandments originated from. Sorry if you guys can hear my dog moving around in the back. Truth seekers from far and wide come to Egypt to sit at the foot of the master, quote unquote. Those who were deemed as devout students would receive first-hand knowledge and wisdom of the Kemetic sciences straight from the mouth of Hermes or Thoth. These mystic teachings were only taught orally. The knowledge is passed down from master to the devoted student, age after age. Those who go down this path of mastery know and understand that this level of knowledge is not meant for everyone. Hence why this is considered occult or hidden knowledge. To the ordinary person, especially from Western culture, because they will either not understand the value of the wisdom, or they would be incapable of being responsible / uncorrupted with their own power. So essentially what I meant by that, they feel like this knowledge is so powerful. You know how people say knowledge is power. So this occult knowledge, this secret knowledge is so powerful that they literally hid it on purpose so that people wouldn't just be out here doing all types of crazy stuff for their own personal gain. So again, because knowledge is power and your mind is powerful, so is your tongue and your word and your deeds and your works. So with that being said, I want to just read a quote from the book and then also from another Hermetic book. So this is from the Kybalion, the introduction. And it says here, there are those who have criticized this attitude of the Hermetists and who have claimed that they did not manifest a proper spirit in their policy of seclusion and reticence. But a moment's glance back over the pages of history will show the wisdom of the masters who knew the folly of attempting to teach the world that which it is neither ready or willing to receive. The Hermetists never sought to be martyrs and have instead sat silently aside with a pitying smile on their closed lips, while the, quote, heathen enraged noisily about them, unquote, in their customary amusement of putting to death and torture the honest but misguided enthusiasts who imagined that they could force upon a race of barbarians the truth capable of being understood only by the elect who had advanced along the path. So essentially what they're saying is people would crucify them for trying to teach this publicly to everyone. Just like how they crucified Jesus, for example, in that story. Not saying that is a complete story, but just as an example, right? So when people are faced with a truth or a reality that is not what they believe to be true, it can be threatening to them, and that can make people upset. So that's why people don't just outwardly share this information, because the way our society is programmed and set up, we are made to shun this stuff, and basically be scared of it or think it's evil. Okay, so that was from the Kybalion, and then I just wanted to also read a quote from another book. It's called The Corpus Hermeticum, The Divine Pymander. This is the original manuscript. It's by Hermes Trismegistus back in 3rd century AD, and it was edited by Tara Warwick. This is the 2015 new edition. And this is from, what chapter is this? Chapter 1. And it's line 87. This, O son, the whole nature and composition of those living things called men is very prone to maliciousness and is very familiar, and as it were nourished with it, and therefore is delighted with it. Now this white, if it shall come to learn or know that the world was once made, and all things are done according to providence or necessity, destiny or fate, bearing rule over all, will he not be much worse than himself, despising the whole because it was made? And if he may lay the cause of evil upon fate or destiny, he will never abstain from any evil work. Wherefore we must look warily to such kind of people, that being in ignorance they may be less evil for fear of that which is hidden and kept secret. So another reason why they kept this secret is because, like I was saying, they don't feel like the average person is responsible enough. I'm sorry, I sound like I'm sick. I have a stuffy nose. They don't feel like people are responsible enough to know this information. They believe that, people would be malicious and selfish and just malevolent with this information, because you're essentially learning how the universe is really operating and what your part really is, and the power that you have as an extension of the all. So that was from the Corpus Hermeticum. So that's from Hermes. That's from his mouth. Okay. So let me finish going over this summary of the introduction. It's ironic, though, that these universal laws are somehow hidden from the masses and never spoken about or seen in media from a mystical perspective. But they're considered universal. They're universal laws. That's what this book goes over, the Kybalion. But these universal laws are hidden away and kept secret and never spoken about. So that's interesting to me. It's just ironic. The true followers or practitioners of Hermetic philosophy / Communing science do not integrate normally with common people, and they do not go out of their way to preach about what they believe to people they encounter. They have no interest in becoming martyrs. They do not cast pearls to swine, quote unquote. Very few are passed down this knowledge, and thereby they preserve the purity of their doctrine, unlike how organized religion is set up with countless denominations. So, what I kind of meant by that is because they literally only share this with just one person in their lifetime, essentially, or, a couple people maybe. It's such a small circle that is holding this information from age to age. They are preserving the very essence of the knowledge and the wisdom. Whereas when you take a doctrine or a belief system and you turn it into a religion that's organized with all these specific things you have to do in order for you to be considered this, and you have to do all these things, right? Go to church, read the Bible, pray, do communion with the bread and the juice. You have to do this, you can't do that, you have to do all these things in a certain way. It's very specific. It's very much so, the physical reality, all these different 1-2 steps that you got to do, right? And then they have all these different variations. People branch off and start their own little thing with their own little set of things. And just as it keeps going and unraveling and branching off, it gets further and further away from the actual truth and the essence of the whole reason why it came to be that way from jump. I hope I'm making sense. So, the Hermetic teachings are to be the great reconciler. It started with the truth, the actual source of everything, and within that unfolding over time became skewed, tampered with, and diluted into all the various belief systems of today. Now, with the age of organized religion, we focus more on the physical works or rituals rather than our reasons / intentions behind the acts, which is the intangible or esoteric side. Our society is too far left-brained and focused on our physical reality, when it's really the esoteric that holds the true power. The intangible is present before the tangible. Most who are not open or conscious enough for this level of knowledge may have an adverse reaction upon hearing some of these truths, because they will be considered blasphemous or incomprehensible or too ridiculous or fantastical. The intro ends by reiterating the reason for the book, which is to... The intro ends by reiterating the reason for the book, which is to provide those who are seeking this knowledge the universal laws so that the reader may apply them in their own lives. So essentially, the reason for this book, they want to teach you the universal laws of Hermetic philosophy so that you can use them in your own life. These are just the laws, essentially, of how the reality works. And if you're aware of them and realize that you are a part of them, you can have them working for you rather than them working you. And that's the end of the intro. So thank you so much for listening today, and I hope you enjoyed wholeness and balanced vibrations to everyone listening. I will see you for chapter 1 very soon.